Welcome everyone to Erev Tisha B'av. You may notice that I am seated low to the ground. This is a holiday where we sit sometimes on the ground or close to the ground, one of the signs of mourning. And this evening, we will be trying on many of the signs of mourning, as it is Erev Tisha B'av tonight. I want to welcome you. I want to welcome Nancy, who will be leading service with me tonight. I want to invite you, if you're with us, to turn on your camera if you're comfortable so we can see you, so we can be in community together. If you're unable to, that's fine, but it's lovely to see your faces and to feel the communal spiritual experience of being with other human beings in this Zoom space. Tisha B'av is a day associated with so many tragedies that have befallen the Jewish people since the beginning of time, and it especially commemorates the destruction of the first and the second temples. It is a day of grief, of loss, of mourning. And this is why we sit low to the ground. We have lights dimmed. The only reason you can see a light on my face is so that I can read. And we are gathering to engage in the Torah of grief tonight, to engage in words of grief, in prayers of grief, both modern and ancient. That beautiful nigun that Nancy was chanting for us as we came in is by the rivers of Babylon. I'm sure many of you know it. So our traditions that we walk through tonight are focused on ensuring our continued connection to one another. And while this is a holiday of grief and of mourning, we do this in community together because we as a people find strength in our community. We find strength as we gather. And it's a mitzvah, as we know, to comfort the mourner. And we require connection as human beings. And so tonight, we both grieve and connect and pray and say ancient words of our tradition and new words of our tradition. We know the concept of Shiva, the first 7 days after the loss, the grief of a loved one. It inquires us, it encourages us to be in community, to say Kaddish from within community. And so too, we do that tonight. And Judaism asks us not to have grief create barriers between us, but instead to have grief help us to connect with one another. And so tonight, along with our personal sorrows, Jewish tradition gives us the opportunity to process much grief that our community has had going back in time, as well as new grief that we experience this year. We have the grief of the first and second temples being lost in Jerusalem, the end of the Bar Kokhba revolt, the beginning of the Crusades, the Jewish expulsion from England, France, and Spain. And this year is particularly bitter because we have the grief of October 7th. This is the first Tisha B'av since October 7th, and so we will be acknowledging that along with all of this other communal grief. So I just want to let you know that this is a safe space. If this experience brings tears, let them flow. If this experience brings heaviness, you're in community, you are not alone. And if this stirs up something that you need support with, please reach out. And those of you who are with us, and I know some of you who are with us are experiencing some personal grief in your life as well, know that we are here holding your hands as we walk through this. So let us sing a song that we all know, a song that reminds us that there are some things that never end. There are some things that endure, that give us peace in these moments of grief. God, we pray that these things never end, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, and the prayer of the heart.
שלא ייגמר לעולם, החול והים, רישוש שהמים ברק השמיים, תביעת האדם, החול והים, רישוש המים, מרב השמיים, תביעת האדם. Oh God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
God, we pray that this community, that the strength that we find with one another is as enduring as these beautiful natural elements which give us peace, which give us strength on this Tisha B'av. In a moment, I'm going to light a yahrzeit candle, and I read you a quote by Leo Beck. We would assemble in the darkness to light a candle there, or even a match would have brought immediate disaster upon us. We spoke about the matters of the spirit and eternal questions about God, about Jews in the world, about the eternity of Israel. In the midst of the darkness, I sensed light in the unlit room, the light of Torah. And tonight, while we commemorate all these dark times, we also remember the light that we find in the strength of being in community together, whether it be honoring grief, remembering dark moments, or lifting up the words of our tradition. And so I light this yahrzeit candle tonight in honor of all of those lives lost and all of these memories of destruction that we recall tonight. I want to turn to each of you now and ask you a question and invite us to be in community together. Because one of the ways that we are in community together is by showing up. So I'm going to call on you and invite you just to share your name with everyone in the Zoom room, however you choose to be called, and respond to this question briefly. I want you to think of one word that comes to mind when you hear the phrase, the Torah of Grief. What word comes to mind when you hear the phrase, the Torah of Grief? So introduce yourselves to the room and then one word that comes to mind. And I'll start with Janine. You can go ahead and unmute.
Loss.
Thank you, Janine. Sherry? You're having trouble unmuting? Okay. Okay, Sherry. Welcome. Travis.
My name is Travis. I have more of a phrase than a word. I think it's just honoring the trauma.
So beautiful. Thank you, Travis. Elise?
Yes, nice to meet you all. My word is
Say your word again, Elise.
injustice.
Injustice. Thank you. Michael, you can go ahead and unmute. I see your hand is raised.
One word. The word is hope.
Beautiful. Thank you, Michael. Nancy, do you have a word?
I do. Mine is remember.
Thank you, Nancy. Marilyn?
Marilyn, my word is resilience.
Thank you, Marilyn. James?
I'm just reading a note from my vet. Optimism.
Thank you, Jane. James Cantor.
Trying to figure out how to get on so you can see me too.
We can hear
First thing
you.
I think is sadness, but maybe hope also works.
Thank you, James. CJ, our student Rabbi, rabbinic intern, welcome.
Hello, everybody. I think the word that I'm going to go with would be journey.
Beautiful. Thank you, CJ. Robert O.
My word would be the diaspora.
Good.
Thank you, Robert. Oh, Sherry, you're unmuted. You can share a word.
I am. I finally got unmuted. Finally figured it out.
Beautiful. What's your word?
Compassion. Compassion for self as well as for others.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sherry.
You're welcome.
Izzy, I saw your text. You want to unmute and share a word?
Sure. Mine is darkness and delight.
Beautiful. Thank you. Leonard.
My word is stories.
Thank you, Leonard. Daniel B.
My word's chosen. I will go for acknowledge.
Thank
I
you.
had compassion, pity, and remembrance all taken, so acknowledge.
You can share the same word as someone else. But okay, Robert. Robert K., are you there?
Yes, my word is remembrance.
Thank you, Robert. Rebecca?
Rebecca. My word is learning.
Thank you, Rebecca. Shane?
My word is sorrow.
Thank you, Shane. Dennis?
My word is comfort. And I was going to say resilience as well.
Thank you, Dennis. Toby?
My word is sadness.
Thank you, Toby. Mark and Stephen?
My word is love. And then mine is the community.
Beautiful. Alan?
Hi, I'm Alan. My word is roadmap.
Roadmap. Beautiful. Yafa?
Warning.
Thank you. Hermina?
Ancestry.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Hermina. David?
Family and community.
Thank you, David. We hope you're driving safely. James? James? Oh, did you give us the word already, James? Okay, let's keep going. Screen 2. Leonard already did. Danny did. Trying to see. Patrick, did you want to share a word with us?
Good evening, everybody. I've been thinking, I'm trying to be unique like everybody else, and I'm not driving a car. Really, hope comes to mind.
Thank you, Patrick. Jerry?
My word is also hope.
Thank you, Jerry. Michael?
I narrow it down to 2. I'm Michael, and my words would be live and perspective.
Thank you. James? James Sutherland, you got to unmute.
I don't have anything to say.
Oh, that's not usually like me, but yeah, my word is hope.
Thank you, James. We heard from Patrick. Brad, did you want to add a word? Kimberly, did you want to add a word? Or Susan? Okay. Hope is still connecting, so we will come back to those of you that were unable to add a word.
Really said love.
I'm connected.
Oh, you are? Hope. Okay, it shows on my screen you're connecting. Do you want to share a word? Kimberly said love. Beautiful. Go ahead.
I will, of course, hope has come up 5 times. So, but that actually was sort of my word, but not. My word is healing.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So I invite you to mute yourselves again. This next song in a moment that Nancy will sing for us is a song that speaks of belief, of deep belief of God and of many things. And it was a song that is famously known, told to be sung and chanted as Jews were marched in the concentration camps to their death. There is something about our people who hold on to belief and faith and hope and resilience and ancestry and all of these pieces that you have brought forth, that we hold on to that as we walk into some of the darkest moments of our lives. And so as we hear Nancy chant these beautiful words, I want to invite you to try to connect, whether you understand the Hebrew or not, connect with your strength, your area of grit and of resilience. Connect to something greater than yourselves. And maybe remember a moment where you called upon this to step forward. Nancy, go ahead.
I invite you to sing along at home. You know the words. This is Ani Ma'amin. 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 B'Hashlema. B'Emun Hashlema. B'Afapi Sheitmachmeya. Im Hose Ani Ma'amin. Beviat HaMashiach. Beviat HaMashiach Ani Ma'amin. Ani Ma'amin. Ani Ma'amin. Ani Ma'amin. Ani Ma'amin. Beviat HaMashiach Ani Ma'amin. Im Koseh Achakelo. Beviat HaMashiach Ani Ma'amin. Beviat HaMashiach. Beviat HaMashiach Ani Ma'amin. Ani Ma'amin. Ani Ma'amin. Ani Ma'amin. Ani Ma'amin.
Thank you, Nancy. May we all find the places that give us the strength to believe and the strength and resilience to move forward. So this holiday of Tisha B'av is a holiday of laments. We chant lamentations, which Nancy will do for us in a little bit, and we write laments, modern and ancient. A lament in Hebrew is called a kin'ah. And I'm going to read you a contemporary kin'ah for Tisha B'av by Barbara Cavadias. When do we lament? I looked through all my poetry to find one to share as a new retelling of our communal lament. Back through the eyes of time, connecting our now to Shoah, expulsions, crusades, rebellions, destruction of the temples. And I realized I had not won. I practice gratitude. I promote an attitude of gratitude, but do I not see the vacant-eyed child in the doorframe, strung out, vulnerable, but for the loyal dog standing guard? Do I not see the pregnant woman sleeping on the street, begging for money to go home, but they're week after week? Do I not see the people snatched off the street by unmarked agents in unmarked cars? Do I not cry when I hear of the overworked, desperate health workers who take their own lives? Do I not cry when I hear of the children torn from their parents' arms, put into crowded detention camps, mistreated, malnourished, medically neglected? Do I have tears for the First Peoples on their reservations, denied the resources provided to others to care for themselves during a pandemic? Do we not mourn for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, murdered by those who were sworn to protect? Do we not mourn for the brown-skinned man going to work in Portland, surrounded by 2, 4, 6, 8 armed and dangerous men demanding, "Who are you? Where do you come from?" Do I not mourn for my nation, for the land of the free, for the hopes and the dreams of my youth? I see the gerrymandering, I see the poverty, I see the homelessness, I see the substance abuse, I see the racism, I see the anti-Semitism, I see the sexism, I see the gun violence, I see the rise of fascism, I see the 4 million dead not from a virus, but incompetence, hatred, and greed. But how often do I turn away? How often do I retreat to my attitude of gratitude? Maybe the rabbis have it all wrong. We do not retell the things that befell us all on one day, Tisha B'av, to comfort us. We funnel it down to one day as a telescope, a magnifying glass to focus us. We cry and mourn and remember so that we do not turn away, so that we do not walk by, so that we do not remain complacent, so that we can maybe finally turn away from baseless hatred, embrace the godliness in each person, embrace God. So mourn for today, for all the yesterdays where we did not love our neighbor as ourselves. So mourn today, hear its call, make tomorrow right. I just want to let all of this sit for a moment and offer us just a moment of silence on this heaviest of days, on this day of memory and mourning and grief. And for those of you whom silence is uncomfortable, I invite you to put a thought into the chat, a thought that these prayers and these poems may have brought to your hearts, brought to your minds as we enter into Tisha B'av. And if you're comfortable with silence, just focus on your breath, a few moments of breathing. So now we enter into Lamentations, eicha. This text is the beginning of our turning towards God and pouring out our grief, our request of being held in the palm of God's hands, and our tears which can help to cleanse our souls by releasing that which we need to release. And in a moment, Nancy is going to chant the first 4 verses of eicha for us. And as you listen, I just invite you to place your hands on your heart, to feel how these words enter into your somatic system, into your body, into this storage space for our souls. And in the end, after those first 4 verses, Nancy will return us with a phrase that will be familiar for you because we sing it. We sing it during the holidays. We sing it during the high holidays, asking to be returned to the source, the greatest source, the being who gives us life and energy and light and resilience and love. And after she chants that, we will sing that together, beginning to turn ourselves towards that divine source.
We'll begin with what we call at Kol Ami, a dvar trope, a few words about the melody. Eicha, the Book of Lamentations, is just that. It's a long, very personal lamentation of the prophet Jeremiah. The verses in the first 4 chapters are written in alphabetical order. Why? Talmudic thought says that Jeremiah wrote alphabetically because the Jewish people had sinned from Aleph to Tav, from the beginning, the first letter of the alphabet, to the last letter of the alphabet. The trope, which is the term we give to the melody or cantillation, gives several insights, not just into the depth and breadth of the people's sins and their grief, but also, as we've been talking about, a glimpse of hope. The chant for eicha is a very beautiful melody. Some people think it's the most beautiful of all our tropes. It is slow and it's repeated throughout the 5 chapters. It's also chanted rather quietly and reflectively, as Rabbi said, befitting lamentation and mourning. In fact, it's traditional to read eicha, again, as Rabbi said, while sitting on a low stool or on the floor, much as one does during Shiva. There are several trope combinations. So these are combinations of signs that tell us how to sing, which underscore the grievousness of the people's sin, as well as hinting of hope. For instance, in chapter 1, verse 2, we have the phrase, Bacho tivke, and it sounds like this, Bacho tivke, and it means her tear is on her cheek. The trope notes are called kadma ve'azla, and it sounds like this, kadma ve'azla. As some of you know, kadma means forward, like kadima, and azla means going on. While we are thus singing of continued tears and sadness, we are, as a people, nonetheless, still going forward. Eicha ends on yet another sad note. Jeremiah says to God, even if you had utterly rejected us, you have already raged sufficiently against us. It sounds very, very sad, very lamenting. But in Judaism, we have a tradition that we always end chanting on a positive note. So the penultimate verse is therefore repeated because that verse is a message of returning. As Rabbi said, the words are very famous. You know them from when we returned the Torah to the Ark. They are, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha V'Nashuva, Chadesh Yameinu Kikedem. And the melody that I'll sing sounds like this. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, Yehashua, Min Mashua, Chadesh, Chadesh, Yameinu Kedem. The phrase Hashivenu Elecha V'nashova means return us to you, O God, and we shall return. The trope marks are kadma, mapach, pashta. It's a very common combination of trope marks. And it sounds in eicha like this. Kadma, mapach, pashta. So again, kadma means going forward. Now, mapach is a reverser. So we have to ask, what are we reversing? Well, we are reversing from the bad, from sorrow, from grief, from sin, knowing that we can do teshuva in order to return. Finally, pashta, kadma mapach pashta, contains a high note, and pashta is an extender. Pashta. The message of the trope, as it dresses the words of eicha, is therefore that retaining or extending the light of optimism, we can indeed rise toward renewal. Eicha yashva vadad ahir rabati ham aita be'almana rabati vagoyim sarati Bamdinot aita lamas achotivke balayla medim atah alecheya in lamenachem mikol ohaveha kore'eha bagtuva hayuda le'oirim gal tayehuda mehoni umero avoda Yashva vagoyim lo matzah manoach korotveha yisiguha ben mitzarim Darchei Tzion avelot mipli ba'emoen kosarecha shomemin kohaneha ne'enachim bituleha nirgunot v'hi Maharam Hashivenu Adonai Elecha V'nashua Chadesh Yameinu Kedem Hashivenu, Adonai Erecha, Venashuva, Venashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh, Yameinu kekedem.
Hashivenu Adonai Elecha Venashuva Chadesh Yamenu Kekedem. May our days be renewed as before. So this next modern lament was written in honor of Kibbutz Be'eri, one of the unfortunate places of massacre on October 7th. And it was first written in Hebrew and then translated into English. And it is a modern lament in honor of those lives that have been lost, the many, many lives that have been lost due to this conflict. This is Kinat Be'eri, a lamentation for Be'eri by Yagel Harush. And it is, I'm going to read you the translation of Susan Weingarten. Oh, how has my well become my grave, and my day of light become my darkness, and every fruit destroyed, and my song overthrown. My eyes fill with water from the depths of my despair. Oh, how was my Torah, arrayed in order in all her glory, not able to help? And on her beautiful festival, my image was destroyed. My eyes fill with water from the depths of my despair. Oh, how was it that Israel, on the day she cried to God and asked for life, received terror? Elder and babe wallow in blood, and a cruel enemy desecrates her feast. My eyes fill with water from the depths of my despair. Oh, how are mothers and children and young girls brought into captivity, as in the days of pogroms, and the fences are broken for the sheep of the righteous, and the dancing is ended. And the song of my singers, my eyes fill with water from the depths of my despair. Oh, how long, I wonder, Creator on high, how long will the people be in terror? How long will the earth be humiliated? Now arise to light my lamp, and with your spring of mercy heal my despair. And my eyes, brimming with water, will fill my well. Be'eri. So now, just a moment to turn to each of you again. Check in with your heart. Check in with your body, with your soul in this moment. What have these poems and these songs and these melodies from our tradition stirred within your heart tonight? And if you want to put into the chat something that it stirred for you, go ahead and put that into the chat so all can see what is being stirred. CJ says validation, loss, action, What is stirring in your heart and in your body this Erev Tisha B'av? Kol Ami, what is calling to you? Perseverance. Shared grief leads to stronger community. There's a reason we do this in community. Thank you for that, Danny. So we turn now to another modern, beautiful piece of poetry written by a neo-Chassid Orthodox Jew who has written a number of poems post October 7th as a devoutly religious Jew. And it is perhaps the most poignant when we read this poem to remember that this individual who wrote this lives a deeply religious life, one dedicated to Torah, to Israel, and to all that comes with living a religious life there. And I first heard this poem in a Shabbat service, and I was so struck that I decided to share it with you tonight. He mentions a number of things in the poem. He wrote the poem first in Hebrew and then translated it in English. For our purposes, I'm going to read it to you in English, but he mentions both ancient and modern things for a religious Jew and for an Israeli. So hopefully some of these references will ring true to you. And it's called Achshav Anachnu Tzrichim Torah Hadasha. Now we need a new Torah. Now, like air to breathe, we need a new Torah. Now gasping for air with choking throats, we need a new Mishnah and a new Gemara and a new Kabbalah and new ascents of the soul. And inside all the brokenness and the salt and the desolation now, a new Hasidim and a new Zionism and a new Rav Kook and a new Brenner and a new Leah Goldberg and a new Yahweh Da'at and new art and new poetry and new literature and new cinema and new old words and new ancient souls from the storehouse and a new love out of the terrible weeping. For we were all washed away in the rivers of Re'im and Be'eri, and we have no mountain within us, nor other tablets, and no Moses, and no strength, and now everything is in our hands. Ve'akshav hakol natan beyadenu. Everything is in our hands. So Kol Ami, I turn back to all of you to remind you that we hold the memory as a people, and we also have so much ability to do good, to turn the tide, to make the positive happen in the ways that we are capable. And that is the strength of being in Jewish community, of kehilah, of connection, of congregation, and of the voice of our people. That is the name of our community. We are the voice of our people. And this is a time, a precious, precious time to use that voice in our world. And I just want to lift up what Janine said in the chat that came to mind for her: acceptance of what we cannot change and the loss because of the darkness and separation from the light within. And I want to turn us back to the light within ourselves and to the strength within this Zoom room and within this sacred community of people who know what it is to be broken and know what it is to rebuild. Each of us in this room have rebuilt ourselves in different ways. And imagine the rebuilding that we can do for our people, for our community, for our city, for our world, if we come together. I just want to invite you to think about what action might you take this year to bring about a new Torah in our world. And if you want to put it into the chat box, you can. And if you want to just hold it in your heart, you can. But what action might you take this year to bring about a new Torah in our world? We'll just take a moment of silence. James says, creating more ways to bring mental health benefits to more people. Amen. Selah, James, may it be so, and may we all help to do that. That is a new Torah that is deeply, deeply needed. Does anyone else have a new Torah that you wish to bring forth? So I turn us now to a modern poem for Tisha B'av. One of us is unmuted. I'm not sure who is unmuted. We turn now to a modern poem for Tisha B'av, written by Todd Greenberg. These are his words. Within the broken walls of the temple's lives, the history of destructions, honor, remember, mourn. We will most likely not build the third temple, for the rebuilding now is from within. Deconstruct your temples, the ones that don't work. Honor, remember, mourn. Reconstructing the self, build the internal tabernacle that cannot be taken away. Help others to build their own temples, their own relationship with the infinite. Listen to your Torah. Resurrection and new beginnings will come. So Kol Ami, let us listen to our new Torah, to the new Torah that is calling to you tonight, that will call to you as we turn, as we do teshuva, as we turn and return towards a new High Holy Day season. Listen for the whisperings of the new Torah that is calling to you, that only you and uniquely you can bring to life, and that we, as a voice of our people, can lift up and can bring to life. Janine writes that as Cantor Nancy said to her today, holiness is what each of us can give to our world, to ourselves, and to our community. It is the holiness we bring, being our essential, loving selves. And may that Torah, Janine, for you be the Torah of this new year. And I invite us to ask God to return us, to renew us each and every day as we begin to turn towards Elul, towards a month-long preparation for the High Holy Days. Tonight marks 7 weeks until the High Holy Day season begins. And so I invite you to start turning with us, to be part of Kol Ami's Elul offerings, which will be announced shortly, and to listen to the Torah that is calling to you, and to be with us, be with the voice of your people in community, so that we may be renewed. And I turn to Cantor Nancy once again, and I invite each of you who wishes to sing with her to unmute and to sing the words of Hashivenu together as one voice of our people. We know it is imperfect to sing in Zoom, but that is okay. That is the beauty of what it means to be human on this broken holiday. And anyone who wishes to unmute and join with us singing may do so. Go ahead, Nancy.
Hashivenu, Hashivenu,
May we all be renewed as before. May this holiday, this commemoration of loss of our people, allow us to soften our hearts, allow us to shed tears, allow us to write laments, to reach out to those we love, to be in community in our grief. And we invite you to be with us again on Friday evening for Shabbat. And we invite you to watch our Kolenu for updates about our Elul offerings, the month-long preparation as we turn to the High Holy Days. I offer deep thanks to Cantor Nancy, just Nancy, but Cantor Nancy Cohen, for that beautiful singing, for your beautiful Devar trope, my first, beautiful to experience that with you. I offer deep thanks to Adam for his technical support and training and help, of which I could not do this evening. I offer love and gratitude always to our student Rabbi, CJ. So wonderful to be in community with you. We cannot wait to continue to learn and pray with and alongside you. And I offer deep gratitude and strength to all of you. If you fast, because this is a fasting holiday, may it be a meaningful fast for you. And may you find some time for reflection throughout the day, tomorrow, throughout the week, as we continue to mourn. And I thank my Beit Ahava friends that are with us. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Kimberly. I thank all of my Kol Ami family. I love all of you. And I wish you a meaningful Tisha B'av, and may these laments open our hearts. Thank you so much, everyone. If you wish to offer thanks or gratitude or anything that you're walking away with, feel free to unmute or add it into the chat box. May we all find comfort in our community. Thank you so much, everyone. Love to you.
Shkoyach, Rabbi.
Yasher koach to you, Nancy. Thank you.
Yasher koach.
Thank you.
Rabbi, thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Yasher koach to both of you.
It occurs
Beautiful.
to me, it occurs to me, Rabbi, that you said that it's 7 weeks till Rosh Hashanah. Well, if you think about 7 weeks from Pesach to Shavuot, so on Shavuot we were at Sinai receiving the 10 Commandments. So maybe 7 weeks from now in community, we'll be starting on our new Torah. We'll be thinking about and planning for our new Torah.
Amen, Sela, Nancy. May we bring forth our new Torah in 7 weeks together in
community.
Kol Ami.
Beautiful, Nancy. Thank you.
Thank you all. Be well. Sending love.
And if you fast, don't go out in the sun. It's too hot. Be safe.
Be well, everyone. Thank you, Michael, for those beautiful words.
You know, Rabbi,
Yes, Michael.
I can't wait to tell the congregation, the members of Kol Ami, how wonderful it was, and they missed it. You have raised my esteem for you to the sky, actually beyond the sky, as high as it can go. That is what my praise is for you.
Well,
Thank
Michael,
you. Thank you for being our rabbi.
I thank you for being in community with me, and I thank you for those beautiful words and teachings that we continue to share.
You're welcome. Good night, everybody.
Night. Be well. Be well. Love to you all. Lovely to meet you, Sherry and Yvonne and Toby and James. Brad, I love you always. And James and Pearl and Evan. Love to you all. May you find peace this evening. Thank you. Be well.
Thank you, Michael, for those kind words.
Bye, Evan. Be well, everyone.
Whoever that was, you're welcome.
It was Evan.
Michael, as if you shouldn't.
It's
Bye,
Evan.
everyone. It was Evan. Good night.